I think you all must have seen this, but GameMake is pretty much freer than it has been. I think it's never been this free, right? Because the freer it has been before was when the Windows export was free, and now Windows export is free, Android export is free, web export is free, and it is just for non-commercial, so it's not free for commercial, but for commercial they brought back, or I guess we brought back, $100 license, permanent license, and not a subscription. So that's also pretty cool. And this is also the cheapest it's been, because before we switched to the subscription model, I think for $100 it was just desktop, and then there was like I think 150 separate for web, and then another similar price for mobile. So it was a lot. Right, Studio Starter was free for a bit, in the 1.4 1.x era, and that was just desktop. So it's pretty cool that now like Android and web is also on that. Blue Oak already bought the new Perpetual in addition to having the old one, so that is nice. Um, that is gonna give you commercial access to the new runtime when it drops. So that's pretty cool. Honestly, I don't mind paying for the perpetuals the old school way. That's why I am used to. Yeah, I also agree, and I think most people are gonna agree with that. I mean, it used to be $10 at some point. Really? So that must have been like before in Octon. That must have been like before studio times in the GameMaker 8 or something days. And when I became active with GameMaker, that was in the studio era, and by then it was $100. Let me see if. Hey, hey, hello, how's it going? Let me see if I can actually add my system's audio to this, because I might play a video real quick. So there is audio input. Let me see. Just a minute. This isn't doing it. You joined at the tail end of the pre-studio era, and in 2009, it wasn't $10 anymore at that point. It was like 20. Makes sense. I mean, when you think about what GameMaker was back then, I'm pretty sure before Studio it didn't have any of the platforms that it does right now. I think it was just Windows, wasn't it? And at most Mac, I think. I don't remember back then, but makes sense given what it was back then, and the features it had. Okay, I think I should be able to add my system's audio now. Bought GMS2 Perpetual for the PC, Mac, and web. So how long do I have to sell commercially with? Um, well, it's a perpetual license, so it's perpetual. There's no limit on it. So it's basically forever. And like the people who have GameMaker Studio 2's perpetual license from before the subscription era, they still have that license. So perpetual is perpetual. You basically don't lose it. Windows on Mac and also HTML5. But you said pre-studio, right? And I'm pretty sure HTML5. Well, HTML5 was, I guess, sort of a transition between the GameMaker 8 era and GameMaker Studio era, because GameMaker HTML5 was like a separate product that they made after GameMaker 8.1, if I'm not wrong. So, yeah. What will happen with the old permanent license? So, you still have that. So, if you bought like a permanent license before the subscription era, you still have that. So, you can publish games commercially using the current runtime, which is now called the GMS2 runtime. When the new runtime drops, which is something being worked on, which is like an entirely rebuilt version of the GameMaker runtime, when that drops and you want to use that commercially, then you want to buy the Perpetual license. Can you confirm that the permanent Pro license isn't only for Black Friday and is here to last? Yeah, it's not a Black Friday thing. We've switched our business model. Will the free version stay free? It should. It's not supposed to be a temporary change. It's a switch of the business model. Bought it before it shift to Opera. Yeah. So Docton says the Perpetual license is valid forever for the current toolset. You will not get the new GMRT, however, which seems fair to me. The new runtime is essentially a new product, and yeah, that's true. I think a lot of people here aren't aware what the new runtime is. So GMRT, that's the new runtime, and the current runtime is the GMS2 runtime. So if you like open GameMaker right now, it's gonna say GMS2 over here, and that's basically the runtime that's been in GameMaker for years now, and it's the one that's we are building on, and the one you're currently using. But there's a separate new runtime being built, and it's being worked on for a long time, and it likely be will be working on it for more time. So it is a new product, basically, like Nocturne says. This is closer to how Unity's business model used to work. I wonder if this was in response to the Unity Exodus as a way to attract Unity users. Will the free version force a specific splash screen or other things? So there's no splash screen, there's no restrictions. You basically have like the entirety of GameMaker's power, and yeah, that's it. For non-commercial, of course, but that's pretty much it. Right. So what I wanted to show. Oh, let me check the chat real quick. When can we expect the new runtime? Not sure. I mean, I'm sure out there's somewhere that we have told some timeline or something, but I don't remember that right now. Are there some paid courses for creating games like Sword of Ditto on GMS2? Or what guides can one follow to create games with that art style? I'm not sure what you mean about that art style, because you're asking about making the game, but programming the game or designing the game, these are separate things, and then making the art and defining the art style, that's a separate thing. But I'm not aware of any courses for that. Again, Udemy is a good place, so if you want courses, go to Udemy and check. But again, my personal tip, even though I've made Udemy courses in the past, that's something I never actually used myself. So you just make small projects, basically trial and error, and you use the manual, you ask questions online, you Google around, and yeah, trial and error. Make a new game every week or every month. That's my way. You should always add a GM splash screen to your games. Gotta show support for the product that you love. Yeah, if you do that, that's awesome. If you don't do that, that's also fine. And I wish the team would put together a free MP project with one that people can use. What do you mean MP? Multiplayer? Is there a GMS3 development that will end of life GMS too soon? There's the new runtime, and that's just a new option when that drops. But there's just that right now. So the new runtime, only the runtime side, and it's like entirely built from the ground up with the many new improvements and features and all that. So there's that. How many years will I take to get better at coding? That depends on how much you practice and how you practice. So, like I just said, my tip is just make a new game every 2 weeks, and you're gonna have to use tutorials sometimes, but don't become the kind of person that only makes games following tutorials. Try to do things by yourself, try to fail. MP Marketplace, a free marketplace project with cool animated splash screens that people can just import into their games. That's a good suggestion. That's actually cool. I mean, it doesn't have to be a marketplace asset, it could be a template. And do the templates have splash screens already? Don't know. A vast improvement over the default splash screen, if I may say so myself, yeah. Your Udemy course is on point and just started it, and it is refreshing and transformative, and I will pay it forward. I'm glad you're enjoying it. If you do have any questions, there's the Discord server that I have, so you can ask there. I've been suggesting this for years, even when I worked there. Ooh, come back and see it done. Sorry I'm a little late. I'm just so fascinated by the art style and design of the game Swords of Ditto. I had a check on GMS, but was amazed of recent at the games released from GMS. Been excited since. Nice. So the free version will be stuck with the current runtime, and the pro version will benefit of the new runtime only commercially. So when the new runtime does drop, it'll also be available to you to use with all the platforms that are free, non-commercially. So you'll still have it. It's just for commercial, for the new runtime, that you need the new license. Please, what link can we follow to get your courses? Real quick, let me open that up. So this is my Udemy website, and this was the last course I made about making a crafting game. So this is the one that I would recommend if you want one, and I think there are a lot of people still following it, even though it was made like 3 years ago, and I think it's still useful. Sadly, I'm not able to be active on this and answer questions like I used to before I worked at GameMaker. But if you want any, this is what I would recommend. Yeah. I'm happy to answer anything. So we can talk about stuff. If you have any questions, we can talk about that. Do you guys hear this, by the way? Do you get audio for this? So this was my talk at GDC in India just earlier this month, and it was here that I can't hear it. Just a second, let me check. So audio output capture, it should be, let me check. Okay, just a second. I'm gonna just hit play, and when you start hearing it, let me know. It might be that Streamlabs doesn't have the permission yet, so it might be that. But basically, what I was gonna show is that I did this talk on November 4th, and I basically teased this license change there, that we have a pricing update coming, that we know that the subscription model isn't very uh, popular. It's not the best, right? So that was cool to be able to tease that there. Let's say what, 21 days ago. And since then it's been okay. When will it go out? When will the license change go out? It was a countdown, and it's exciting that it's finally out. Um, so yeah, Windows, web, mobile are free for non-commercial, and for commercial it's a $100 license for all of those, and for consoles it's still a subscription. So that's the most expensive option there for consoles. So I want to know what you all think. Everyone here in the chat right now, what did you all think of this change? When you saw it, what did you feel? And is this gonna impact you in any way? Is this something that you were looking forward to? Is it something that's gonna help you? I followed his course about GML Visual, and it was the best I ever saw about this approach. I strongly recommend it if you're afraid of GML code. Wait, are you referring to my course or someone else's? But yeah, I do have a GML Visual course. Is Yazan green or blue? I'm not sure what you're talking about. But yeah, that's basically the new license change. And if there's anything related to that you want to talk about in the chat, yeah, my course. Okay, yeah, thank you. So yeah, if there's anything you want to talk about that, or you have questions, let me know. I'm reading the chat. And yeah, if you have any questions about GameMaker in general, I'm happy to answer. But I thought apart from that, we might get back to this project that I started on this stream last week. Will the new runtime change so much that all tutorials will not be compatible with the new runtime? It should still work. There should be a compatibility layer there, so all code should still work, or it should really be the same, because I doubt that the GML API itself is gonna change. So I don't think all tutorials not working is something to worry about. It's still pretty much gonna be, at least on the user facing end, at least for basic purposes, even though the new runtime gives you like more control and new features, it should still be the same old GameMaker that you know for like the basic purposes. So yeah, I'd say that's not something to worry about. I'm as casual as they come. This is like not even one of my main hobbies nowadays. So free option is convenience when I open GM once in a blue moon. Yeah, yeah, I agree. No impact to me, but I like the change. It opens GM up again to beginners and small devs. Going to see more GM games in game jams. Yeah, it was kind of not fun seeing game makers' usage go down in jams all these past years. And I think the exe exports not being free was to blame for that. But now that the exe is free, like it was 7 or 8 years ago, and the web export is free. That's great. Now you can not only just make exes for free, but also HTML5s. That's awesome. You are the best. No, you are the best. Thank you. This change is so good. I was originally making games for fun, but now I feel much more inclined to buy the one time package. Seems like a very fair model. Yeah, and like I said before, it's the cheapest it's been because for $100 before, you used to just get the Windows export, and now it's like everything apart from consoles. So that's fun. But like you say, I was originally making games for fun. I know what you mean. But making games should always be fun. How do you feel about copy and pasting or mixing GML code with other GMS2 instructors code? Man, that heart icon at the bottom right sometimes makes it hard to read like the latest message. How do you feel about copy pasting or mixing GML code with other GMS2 instructors code? Well, I wouldn't copy paste, first of all. And then there's like, you should try to have an understanding of what the code does. I personally won't copy or write code in my project when I don't understand what it does. So when you understand what the code that you're entering into your project does, not just that, but why it works and how it works, then you're not gonna have any trouble if you try to like combine the code that you saw from different sources. But if you're watching like two different tutorials and you don't understand how either of those work or like how one of them work and you try to incorporate them into each other, you're likely bound to fail there because you don't understand why the code works. So how can you combine those two separate systems when you don't have an understanding of it? So try to have an understanding of the code that you're watching from a course or from a video. If you don't understand it, try to think about it, try to play around with it, try to change stuff, and you will fail. You'll get an error, and you'll understand. Okay, now I get why it works. If all that fails, ask someone, go to a forum or go to Discord and just ask, hey, can you please explain why this part of this code works? What does this line do? I don't understand. But whatever you do, just try to understand your code. And when you're like trying to combine different sources, you'll succeed. I'm glad to hear it. I remember the GameMaker books from Mark Overmars works with a few adjustments till today, so that's a big dub for the new runtime. Yeah, GameMaker's like has retained that same core for so long. And even if you're reading a book from 15 years ago, like the Mark Overmars one, or like 10 or 12 years ago, you're gonna have a hard time with it, but you can still make it work. As for making a game and making its different systems and just getting a game working on a sort of higher level, if you're not looking at like the granular details of how the code works, but like on a higher level, getting all those systems work, it's pretty much very similar. GMS2 evolved greatly from its release, and now, so you'll always have to adapt tutorials that are getting old. This is the same on other engines as well. Yeah, it's all about how much detail you're going into, right? If you're going into a lot of detail, then even a tutorial from 2 months ago is gonna be outdated on some level. But the higher level you go, sort of the all the tutorials you can sort of make work. From this stream, it looks like the UI sure has changed a lot since Studio One. It has. Like, have you not used GameMaker since Studio One? Was that the last version you used? Because it has changed a lot. Like in 2017, when GMS2 came out, it was a drastic change, and I remember so many people just not liking it. And I still know people who never switched from GMS1 because uh, they're so used to that UI. And even I, in the beginning, didn't like this because I was so used to um, GMS1. And even now, we know that this is like not the best UI, and we are working on making it better, like with the addition of the inspector and the new code editor that's gonna come soon. But yes, it has changed a lot. When GMS2 was new, I remember I was like, okay, I have to use this. I have to force myself to use this because I want to make the most up-to-date Udemy course with GMS2. So I sort of just forced myself to use it. I didn't want to use it, but yeah, it only took like a month or something to get used to it. And now going back to GMS1 feels weird, which I haven't touched in like 5 years, which I only touched last because I wanted to bring an old project and just move it to GMS2. Okay, a lot of chat messages. What books, approach, or suggestions to understand coding from your experience? Thank you for the other suggestions as far as asking questions in forums. Yeah, there's not a lot that I have to say on that apart from just fail. Just write code. If it doesn't work, then look at the manual or Google around and see why it doesn't work. Or if you're taking code from a tutorial and obviously you're trying to understand it line by line why it works, just change it and just fail. Just get an error. Just play around with it. I spent 3 years of my life in GameMaker and I still don't know what is variables, but I know how to code. That's interesting. That kind of makes me think of my guitar skills basically because I have spent the last 2 years playing around with this thing, and because I never had like a teacher for the basics and stuff, I don't know the basics of this, but I know how to like play basic stuff. So maybe if you don't know what are variables, you could get like a basic introductory class to general coding. If you can't find something like that, first of all, I'm sure there's resources for that for GameMaker itself. I know I have videos on this channel explaining the basics like variables. I know Sam Spade has a lot of good videos on his channel. But if that isn't working for you, you could take a introductory class to coding, like in C or Python or JavaScript or something else. And if you do that for like a couple weeks, and then you come back into GameMaker, you might find that you have a better understanding now. My point is, if you search a way to convert old techniques to the current version, you'll learn a lot. True. Currently taking the Making an Action Adventure Game course and have building a crafting game with GameMaker bookmarked. Awesome, that's nice. I hope you're enjoying them. Yeah, I wanted to get into Studio 2, but then they changed to a subscription model, and I decided to stick with 1.4. Yeah. I hope the new license changes change your mind, and you can give GMS2 a try again. If you do want an introductory thing to GMS2, I have basic tutorials. If you go into my playlist on this channel, I have a playlist on like the basics of GameMaker, like variables and events and all that. You can watch that. There's an RPG video I have, which was like the last video that I uploaded, so you can check that. And of course, you can always watch my official tutorial, which is like no, it is what was it called? Yeah, Arcade Classic. Yeah. So this is supposed to be the official introductory lesson. It's pretty basic. It's 15 minutes. So if you want something more in depth, then there's the stuff on my channel that you can watch. Oh, someone's live. Interesting. What's that? Oh, I love the change from GMS1 to GMS2. That's nice. So, what did you love about it? Tell me, because of course a lot of people didn't like it. I also was one of those that initially didn't like it. So, when you saw GMS2, what did you like about it? Striving to design first, then code. What advice would you share on that? I guess I learned that the hard way because when I started and for years I would just I would have an idea and I would just jump into code and then trial and error my way into it. But over the years I learned that it helps to think in systems, like abstracted systems and their functions and how they are gonna interact with the rest of the game. So if you have like an understanding of making systems in code and like abstracting them, having functions that are supposed to be used externally from that system, then you can write a document of like when you're gonna make a specific part of your game, what systems will I divide that into, how is it gonna work, how what functions are they gonna have, and you can do that sort of higher level overview in a document before you jump into the code. Or if you don't, even if you don't want to do that, you can do it on a more basic level, like making a document and then writing down what objects you want and what functionality it should have. So if you want to design first, it is gonna make your coding process more stress free because you've thought about the problems beforehand. There's a functional programming joke in there somewhere. I hope so. Where knees? I'm not using my knees right now because I'm sitting. So they're just somewhere else. How's GameMaker's physics engine? I messed around with it in Studio 1.4 and it was a little clunky. Has it been updated since then? So I haven't really been keeping up with how the physics engine has changed because it's something you only need for like very specific stuff and I've only used it for that specific stuff. But on a higher level, I would say it's pretty much the same. Yeah. Now on a more granular level, I don't know. I doubt that it's changed much. But as far as I know, I think it's pretty much the same. Or if it changed between the jump from GMS1 to GMS2, then since then it's pretty much been the same. But then I don't know if it really changed when that jump happened. So for GMS2, the interface was smoother. It helped you feel better when coding. It was smoother, I agree with that. Feel better when coding. Yeah, the code editor was much cleaner. The windows tagged on GMS1 got me confused. They could easily get messy, but they gave you a lot of control. So I guess that's why people like that with bigger projects, yeah. And the way GMS2 changed this was amazing to see. Yeah, it did make it more streamlined. Um, Thank you, Distract. You rock as well. Gotta pay to see the knees? Yeah. Well, I don't have the payment service set up yet, so just wait for that. I'll do announcement. I also love the pan effect when clicking the object and the code editor, and so a lot of few changes in the way it works and it felt right. That was when I learned what quality of life changes were. Yeah, this is nice. This was the controversial thing, I guess, which some people loved and some hated. Physics system hasn't changed since it was implemented. Yeah, that basically confirms my suspicion. Yeah, it's pretty much been the same. So I guess it's good. If it hasn't needed to change since then, I guess it works. Do you know if GameMaker will ultimately provide 3D editor and improved graphics API? I think 3D rendering relied on OpenGL too. So two things. GameMaker's focus remains 2D. It's not gonna compete with the 3D players in the scene, Unity or Unreal. So focus remains on 2D, and I think the new runtime comes with some improvements on the graphics API level, but I don't know much about that right now. What's the proper way to manage workspaces? When I used GameMaker for a few hours, I realized I have all these random windows opened and just close them all. It feels messy. Right. When I'm usually making like a big project, I have all of these different workspaces open, right? But they are all code windows. So even right now, you can see this is a basic project that I started on last week's stream. But there's one workspace, and there are two workspaces for code. And as I keep adding more objects, each object is gonna get its own tab up here, and each category of scripts is gonna get its own tab, and that's how I work. So I just keep this one workspace for editing all the objects, and that's how I do it. What kind of exercises do you do? Because you look like you're ready for the Spideyverse, respectfully. Wait, what do you mean? Exercises like in GameMaker? Or what exercises? Can we export games to PC free? Yes, now you can. PC, mobile, web is free now to export non commercially. So, as long as you're not making money from your games that you export to these platforms, it is free. Water. Right, so let's see what we have in this project. Actually, working out, taking care of your soul, mind, and body. I'm trying to get better at that. Working out and staying fit, going to the gym, and all that. I recently not had a lot of luck with it. Trying to stay consistent. I was like trying to get back into it last week, and then I got sick for a week. So that's fun. Um, but I wouldn't say like I am anywhere good yet. I'm sort of just starting out on that journey towards making myself fitter. One thing I would love to see is the new surface options to be selected without having to code it. Think like I'm using the high definition surface as a default in my project. Will this be possible? If you have a case for that, you can submit a feature request. But that's interesting. Why do you use that as a default? Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, it is awesome. I like to see all the code of an object in separate workspaces because that helps to see more code and find things easily, in my opinion. So you mean like having each event open in a separate tab? That's sort of what I do as well. Matharoo is Pavitra Prabhakar, really, but don't tell anyone. I told you, Nocturne, to not tell anyone. And now you're out here outing me. Not good. Right, so last week in that one stream, this was what we made. So a basic state system, moving around and all that. So if we set up the states here, idle, run, roll, attacks, and all that. And switching between states and all that through this function and handling all that in the step event. And so we have a player that moves, rolls, and attacks. It has two attacks actually. I should add a parry state, but we'll get into that later when we are doing like more of the actual combat. So just a minute. So this time what I want to work on is hitboxes first of all. So I have two characters right now. There's the ogre, which is kind of the boss, and there's the player. And each of these should have like their own hitboxes. And then when you attack, it should create a separate object for the hitbox. Lots of chat messages. Let me see. Note for pixel art projects, for example, it makes it look better. It's amazing, actually. Wait, I was talking to about the surfaces, right? Yeah. Um, well, you look sharp, sir. Iron sharpens iron, so it's job to witness. Thank you. Thank you for the compliment. Um, hey, Patrick, how's it going? Did you make the visual assets for the game? They look good. This is from Craft Pix. That's what the site is called, and they are not free, but I have membership, so I basically get all that. So yeah, it's from Graphics. Will GameMaker embark a sound and music editor like the sprite editor? That is so cool. I don't know. I don't know why GameMaker should have that, because sound isn't something that's essential to making a game. If you're making a game in GameMaker, you need art. So I would like personally say that's why GameMaker has an art editor, because you need art to make a game, but not sound. Talking about like what is absolutely necessary. So I don't know why GameMaker should have like a sound creator or a music creator when there are programs out there doing that uh, very well. But if you do want to suggest that and you have a good reasoning for it, you can file a feature request on our GitHub. Right, so let me set up the mask of the player in the idle sprite. So let's say this is good, and the ogre in its idle sprite. And what is happening? Oh, laptop mode is enabled. Okay. So if I go into O player, or let's say for a default entity, the mask by default should be the player mask. Once you have a vertical slice done in GameMaker, what would it take to get someone officially from GM to check it out and give notes? Notes, comments that gets it closer to lean and mean. Um, I don't know if that's what the official GM team does, because that has more to do with your game and what you are doing in GameMaker. So we wouldn't necessarily provide support on that. Of course, if there's a bug in GameMaker, then you can submit that, and then we do look at the project to see what the bug in GameMaker is. But if you want feedback on your own project, like what's your coding, the community is the best place to look. So you can go to the Discord, you can go to the forums. I doubt it'll be easy to get someone to look at your whole project. So good luck with that. But you can easily, like when you want to get help from people, you want to make it easy for them to provide help to you. So you're saying, okay, will someone look at my project to to see what I can improve there? But you want to make it easy for them. You don't want to say, hey, can you look at my whole project? But maybe look at what parts of your project you're the most unsure about, and then maybe drop that into a forum thread or a Discord channel or something, and then ask them, hey, I wrote this for doing this, and it works, but how can I improve it? And I'm sure people will be happy to suggest improvements to your piece of code. So you want to get help, you make it easy for people to help you. Honestly, some simple 8-bit music or sound editor would be awesome. Yeah, I guess there are tools for that out there. There's something like SFXR or BFXR for 8-bit sound effects, and that's very easy to use. And for music, it's a bit more complicated. I don't know if someone has made a tool to make it easy yet, but I think right now the way I would do it is like using a proper DAW, like a music making program, and then like having all those 8-bit synths in it. So like making 8-bit music is a bit more involved. So maybe GameMaker could have something for that. The reasoning is a little bit naive just to have more tools inside the engine. Yeah, it's never honestly too bad too bad to have everything inside the engine. And I guess a lot of a big reason why people like GameMaker is they can do a lot within the engine, like from making the art to basically doing a lot of stuff without having to have some other program. So if sound is incorporated, it might make GameMaker more solid as the whole package. If it had a sound editor, I guess I would use it. Hi Ashay, how's it going? There are people who will help optimize a project, but you gotta pay for it. Yes. And these days, even finding those people isn't that easy. Like, I know one person in particular who has built a career out of optimizing and improving projects. They help the souls of Ditto devs get their game to run smoother, for example. Yeah. It's always good, like, if you can get to pay someone for that stuff. Then it also depends on, like, what kind of project it is. Because, like you said, for Swords of Ditto, which was like a serious commercial project, to pay someone to improve that makes sense. But if you're just a beginner and you want feedback on your project, then that might not be the best option. So, yeah, for as long as you are in that stage, just get help from the community in tiny bits where you can make it easy for them. BFXR is the best for making 8-bit sound effects. So easy to use, but also very versatile. Yeah, I agree. If you want to make music, LMMS is a free tool that I think is reasonably easy to get into. I haven't used that. I started with Mixcraft. I don't know what the difference between Mixcraft and LMMS is. Like, I don't know what LMMS is specifically, but Mixcraft is a proper DAW, so a digital audio workstation, but it has an easier interface, and it has a lot of plugins built in. So like when I started with Mixcraft, I didn't have to like go around searching for plugins for various stuff because it had everything. And once I got better at making music, then I switched to Reaper, which is also free. But then I know a lot of people also use LMMS, so I'm pretty sure it's a good option. I do think GM could benefit from a simple waveform editor so you can crop samples or copy paste parts of a sample. That is a good suggestion. I agree with that. Even for just cropping, it's so many times that I've like imported something. Let's say I download a sound effect from the internet and it's not cropped well, and if I want to crop it, I have to then go into Audacity and then export it. So if GameMaker had something simple for cropping, then I would use it. Um, I'm not sure if audio loop points are coming to the sound editor. If they are, then that can be used for this purpose. I think it could be made to serve this purpose. One Bit Dragon is cool, but not cheap. hmm Would it be okay to make you an offer as a consultant because I need help and I know that you're one of the better best to do it? Um, that depends because I haven't actually been doing any freelancing for the last 3 years. But if your case is a quick one, I might. So message me on Discord and I'll think about it. The more I'm learning about GameMaker, the more I'm liking it. Discovered Paris Soft today. Yeah, he's cool. And GameMaker is also cool. Thank you for making multiplayer way easier. Yes, you're talking about the GX Games feature, right? It's pretty cool. Um, I would have liked to see that go out and become more widely used, but as of now, it's still in beta, but it's still usable, so it's pretty cool. But yeah, it is locked to just GX games for now, but it's so fun to make multiplayer stuff with that. Family Tracker is also good. Yeah. Guys, remember we are a community. If you need help, just ask. Yeah. And we are a good community. When I was learning GameMaker, I'm not sure I would have become much better if it wasn't for the community. It was so many times that I just went to the forums and asked a stupid question, but that taught me so much, and everyone was so helpful. Why don't you make a piano roll for GameMaker? Well, that's just one part of a draw, I guess. If you have a piano roll, just having a piano roll won't solve any problems. You would need a lot to make the piano roll work. Do you know if you can help in fixing translation errors in the official manual translations? Good question, because soon the manuals will be open source on GitHub. So all the translated manuals should be open source soon. I'm working on that. And the English source manual should also be open source. So if you wanna make improvements to anything, like the English source manual or any of the translations, you will be able to do that soon. So yeah, just keep up to date with keep following us on like the Twitters and the YouTubes and everything. And when it does go out, when it does become open source, you'll know. Is there a Discord link? For my Discord server, yes, there is. Yeah, there's the link is in my channel's description. I should put it in this stream's description as well. But let me quickly grab the link and put it in the chat So that's my Discord server. If you want to talk to me, I'm there. If you want to ask any questions, we have a lot of helpful people there, and me as well. So we should be able to edit you, help you. I clicked on edit and I said edit you instead of help you. So I've put the link for my Discord server in the description of this stream, so hopefully that should guide people to the place. So there's that. We've been live for an hour now, and it's so fun talking to you guys. It is funny that I didn't write a single line of code in this project, but I think this was way more fun than me just making the game, just talking with you guys and answering questions. It's great. So I'll likely be doing this again next Saturday. There's something I was thinking of. Obviously, in addition to doing a stream like this where I'm just coding away, I'm thinking of doing the kind of stream where I play your games live. So maybe you guys submit games to me beforehand through a document or something, and I go through those games, and I could also take like game submissions live through the chat and just play your games and give you feedback. And that's one thing I might try first, and then I might evolve that into taking a look at your projects and giving feedback. So I'm gonna run a poll, and the poll should be up now, I think. Yeah, so you can click on yes or no in the chat if you would like me to try that kind of stream where I play your games and give feedback. And as I said, in the future, we could evolve that into me taking a look at your projects live and giving feedback on your code and how your project is organized and everything. So we have a good 5 votes on yes right now. Let me close that. I recently discovered how to fix glitches that are like objects don't show or problems that doesn't have to do with code. You have to create a local package of the game and put it in a new project. I'm not sure what you're talking about, but I have a feeling that might be a bug in GameMaker that you're talking about if things aren't showing and you have to use the local package workaround to get it to work. So you could submit a bug report if you think it's that. Thank you for your time as well, Jerome. Thank you for taking times out of your lives to watch me ramble on. So thank you. YouTube automatically blocks any posts that contain links, so a few of my messages are just missing context because YouTube blocked part of what I said. Yeah, that's to protect from like unsafe links to be posted, so it's just that. That would be fantastic. Awesome. Wish there was some notification like your message was blocked. Oh, I think it usually does that. So it's weird that it didn't do it. Yes, gonna send you a copy of my current work in progress. Watch you suffer and try to tell me politely that it sucks. I don't know how I could give you much feedback, Nocturne. You're already a master at all of this. And that's not a joke. So I'll probably learn a few things from you. Can someone point me to a point and click games tutorial? Can someone point me to a point and click games tutorial so you can click on it? Nice. I don't know any, sadly. You can go back in time 15 years ago when GameMaker 8 was the main tool, because that had a point and click tutorial. How do I make room transition smooth? I have a video on that. Let me check real quick. So there's this video about a fade transition. There's a video about a crossfade transition. and there are videos from other channels as well. So there's using sequences, and there's this. So yeah, if you just search, you can get some good stuff. We have a good 8 votes on yes. So I think next week I might just try this then, playing your games. And the informations I got from this stream was priceless. I'm managing a small game maker creators community, and I'll give them back what I learned here. That is awesome. I'm glad the stream could help you, and thank you so much for giving back to the community. So, when you say you're running a French community, is that on Facebook or something, or do you have your own forums? I have a short, medium effort shitpost I made in GameMaker, but I don't know if you only want serious projects here. Well, as long as you seriously want feedback on what you made, then I'm happy to give feedback. But to be honest, I wouldn't mind playing a shitpost game just for the fun of it. A Discord server. It's awesome, that's great. Good luck to your community. And I think I'll just end it here. It was a really fun hour. Again, as I said before, it was funny. I didn't write a single line of code, but talking to you all, it was very fun. Next week on that stream, we might try the playing your games. So I'll probably put out something for that on my Twitter and on this YouTube channel in the community post and on my Discord server as well. So if you're on any of those, you won't miss it. But let's try that next week. I'll put out like a form and you can submit your game on that. And with that, I'll end it. Thank you so much for giving me your time and hope you have a great weekend and week as well. See you all next Saturday. Bye. Bye. Bye.